Hey guys, in this video we're going to be checking out the EMAX BabyHawk. It's another micro drone here on the channel, and this has been heavily reviewed by a lot of people on YouTube. So I'm just going to go over the basics and give you my thoughts on how this performs. So it's an 85mm micro drone. It's an all plastic construction and 85mm motor to motor. It's an X-frame. There's no carbon fiber in here. The ESCs are in the arms, and these are EMAX 6-amp ESCs. The motors are 1104 5000 kV motors, and these are proprietary motors because they use these proprietary props. You cannot use the standard 1104, 1105 type props on these motors. They only work with the EMAX props, and these are 3-bladed 2345 props. They're 2.3 inches. Kind of an unusual size. The flight controller is the EMAX Femto. This is one that I don't particularly like that much because the gyro is very sensitive to vibrations, and we'll talk about that later in the flight demo. The version I got is the plug and play version, so it does not come with the receiver. The bind and fly comes with a XM Plus FrSky receiver that will go onto these pins right here between those wires. There's a little, looks like a servo connector, but the servo connector does not connect to that. It only works with an XM Plus receiver. So I actually did not use these pins. I actually soldered on some wires on the underside of the board there, and the yellow is signal, and the middle one is 5 volts, and the black one there is the ground. And I'm just using a FrSky receiver that I'm mounted to the back here. This is the FSRX2A, and this is directly soldered to those pins. I can fly with my Turn-G Evolution with the iBus protocol. Now if you need Spectrum 3.3 volts, I believe it's on the board somewhere back here in the corner, and it's not going to come out on the camera, but it's on the board over there. Now the camera is actually pretty good on this model. It comes with a whip antenna, and it's pretty well protected, so not likely to get damaged in a crash. However, there's only these two plastic pieces here that are holding the camera in place, so if you happen to hit it at the right angle on something pretty hard, pretty sure that these will snap. Even though it does feel pretty sturdy, I'm pretty sure that's going to break, and that's probably one of the weak spots on this model. So to change your bands and channels, there's a small button back here and the little LED indicator to show your bands and channels. Now, I had some problems getting to my favorite channel, which is Fat Shark 7. It would, for whatever reason, I was not able to find it. And there's no instructions that come with this, so I don't even know what all of the bands and channels are available to you. I'm assuming it's probably the traditional 5 bands and 8 channels in each band, so 40 channel total. I do know that this is power switchable between 25 milliwatts and 200 milliwatts. But there were no instructions as to how to change the power setting, so I am not exactly sure how to do that. Now, in terms of the overall weight of this, it's actually pretty heavy. For this size of micro, it's about 71 grams, even though it is plastic. A lot of my other micros that are in the 2-inch range with similar motors are in the 55 to 60 gram range, so this is a bit heavier. And I think that these props are not all that efficient on 2S because I didn't really feel like it had a lot of power. So the battery I ended up using is this one here. It's the Eachine 450. This is an 80C battery, 2S. This is from the Aurora 90 and Aurora 100. And this is, out of all the batteries I had, this is probably the best one for the EMAX BabyHawk. It gave me the best power on 2S. I did try a 3S battery, but none of my 3S batteries are that good, so the performance wasn't really any better than on 2S. And the other problem is whenever I would go above, say, 75% throttle, I would get a lot of vibrations, and it would just seem like it would lose power beyond 75% throttle, like as if it would do absolutely nothing. And I think that has a lot to do with the flight controller, and the vibrations are causing it to shake and be very inefficient. So as long as you're around under 75% throttle, and between 50 and 75% throttle, it seemed to be just fine. And I would just say stick with a 2S battery, maybe even go a little bit lighter if you can, like a 400. I wouldn't go any lighter than that. I think they sell a 300, but I think your flight times are going to be pretty short. Even on this 450, I was only getting about 3 to 3.5 minutes. So if you go with a smaller battery, you're going to cut your flight times down a little bit. So I think that one of the things that this thing has going for it is the price. It's probably why it's so popular at $99. And I know that if you get it at GearBest and use your coupons, I think you can get up to 18% off on this. However, you have to keep in mind that it doesn't come with a receiver and it doesn't come with a battery, so those are extra costs that you're going to have to account for. I know that a lot of the other eSheen models are more expensive. They're going to be in the 120 to 130 range, but they typically come with a receiver and a battery, and sometimes even a charger. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and roll a little bit of flight footage and talk about my thoughts on how it flew. So this is my third or fourth flight. I was playing around with some different PIDs that I saw from different people that had some videos on YouTube, and for whatever reason, no matter what other PIDs I tried, I just could not get the vibrations out of this craft. It's fine if you are flying at 50% or actually below 75% throttle, and if you're just kind of cruising around in fast forward, low to the ground flight like I'm doing right now, it's okay. The vibrations aren't too bad. But as soon as you try and do a full throttle punch out, you go above 75% throttle, there's a very distinct vibration sound from the props, and the power drops off right away. Basically, it's as if the maximum throttle is 75%, and as you increase the throttle more, the power actually decreases. It doesn't increase, which is pretty odd. So I just kind of kept it, low to the ground and just did some fast forward flight. I don't think that if you were trying to get this BabyHawk for little micro acro flying, this is probably not the craft for you. You probably want to get something with bigger motors, bigger props, and lighter. Something like the chopsticks or something like that, but definitely not the BabyHawk. But as long as you're flying around half throttle and just kind of cruising around, it seems okay. You can still see vibration in the camera, the video. But it's not as bad as if when you try and go above 75% throttle. It's just the vibration sounds are pretty terrible at that point. So I'm just kind of cruising around, and this is about as good as I could get this tuned, and I think it all boils down to the flight controller. It's all these vibrations and the way the craft acts kind of funny like this is all due to the gyro, in my opinion. So not a whole lot that can be done here with that particular flight controller.